Happy New Year, everybody. I'm back again, and this time we're doing college football playoff semifinal predictions. First up, we have Miami and Ole Miss. I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss on this one because I think the Ole Miss offense can outlast the Miami defense. Although Miami does have one of the best defenses in the country, I think Cham Bliss and Lacey rip them apart in the running game. So I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss on this one. Next up, second game, we have Oregon and Indiana. I'm going to have to go Indiana all the way on this one. Personally, I think Indiana is going to win the national championship, and Mendoza easily a number one pick, top 5 at least. He could be the number 1 pick. Dante Moore is also a top 5 QB. But I think the Indiana offense and defense is going to be too much for Oregon, though. That's it for predictions. Now we're going to talk the transfer portal. So, the top players in the transfer portal. We have Sam Levitt, who hasn't decided yet. Brennan Sorsby going to Texas Tech. That's huge. That can really help the Texas Tech offense. And Texas Tech is building a defense because they have, they have one of the top defensive linemen in the portal right now. And then next we have Drew Mestemaker going to Oklahoma State. And that's a really big pickup. North Texas coach was hired by Oklahoma State, and he has brought practically the entire North Texas roster with him, which is not surprising, really. Then we have Cam Coleman, who hasn't decided on where he's going. I think he's going to Texas Tech. Chaz Coleman, the top edge, hasn't decided. Desmond Williams Jr., the former Washington QB, hasn't decided. Damon Wilson, the second, hasn't decided. He's transferring away from Missouri. James Smith, defensive lineman from Alabama, hasn't decided. I don't know how to say his name, but one of the top defensive linemen out of Wake Forest is transferring to Texas Tech, like I mentioned earlier, which should help bulk up the Texas Tech defense. Another edge out of Florida State is transferring. I think the top safety is transferring out of Coy Perch out of Minnesota. Amarian Miller, not the second top wide receiver. Yeah, the second top wide receiver. Transferred from Colorado to Arizona State. But Arizona State did lose Sam Levitt unless Levitt decides to come back, which I don't think he will. I'm not sure. He could be a good impact for Arizona State, though, losing Sam Levitt. DeAndre Moore transferring away from Texas, hasn't decided. DJ Lagway transferred to Baylor out of Florida. Dylan Raiola out of Nebraska hasn't decided. Deuce Knight hasn't decided. Reed Harris transfers from Boston College to Arizona State. Daryl Desser, I think is his name. An edge transferring away from Florida State. And the North Texas running back transferred to Oklahoma State, which is not a surprise. And then Byron Brown, who led the FBS in both passing and rushing touchdowns last year, transferred to Auburn. And with Golish. And Golish has brought a lot of his offense with him. He's brought 4 receivers, a running back, and a tight end with him, including Brown. Ole Miss gets an offensive tackle from LSU. Devin Tompkins, defensive lineman from USC, goes to Alabama. Isaiah Canyon, wide receiver from Georgia Tech, goes to Georgia. Nick Marsh, wide receiver from Michigan State, goes to Indiana, which will help Indiana's offense next year, losing Mendoza. Rocco Beck, not a big surprise. Iowa State's head coach, got hired by Penn State, and he went. Yeah, and the Penn State head coach has brought almost the entire Iowa State roster with him. Amaris Williams, edge from Auburn, transfers to Georgia. An edge from Kansas State transfers to Indiana. Hollywood Smothers goes to Alabama, which is a big one. Terrell Anderson, wide receiver from NC State, goes to USC. Ty Benefield from Boise State goes to LSU. And Benjamin Brahmer, tight end from Iowa State, goes to Penn State, which is not a big surprise there. And then Jakaris Peak, from offensive tackle from NC State, has not decided yet. And that is the top 35 transfers and where they're going, some of them, and where they're going. Please hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.